Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I am your host, Sean McGahee, and this is a show we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, and comic books. I am joined today by the always enchanting Miss Lisa Locke McGahee.
Hello.
Alright guys, so it is that time. We are finishing up or wrapping up our coverage of last weekend's San Diego Comic-Con. A couple days ago, we talked about the Marvel panel. Then we went and we talked about kind of miscellaneous trailers and other stuff. Today, we are wrapping it all up with Warner Brothers DC presentation that they did actually a week ago, because today's Saturday. But we're going to go through kind of the Justice League trailer and then talk about all the other plans that Warner Brothers has for their DC properties and whether we think they're actually going to follow through on these plans, kind of like how they planned a bunch of stuff a while ago.
They plan
and
things a lot of times.
we know how that happens. So, okay. So, starting off, Warner Brothers and DC Films in Hall H last weekend brought out the cast of the new Justice League trailer coming out November 10th, 2017. And they showed us, not really a trailer, they called it more of a sneak preview is what it were. But this is kind of the third trailer that we've gotten for the Justice League. The first one was actually shown a year ago at Comic-Con. And then they had another trailer. And then I think this is kind of the third trailer that they've shown. But in any event, it was almost about 4 minutes long is what this was. We got to see a lot more action, of course, with all the characters and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll just dive right into it, I guess. Lisa, what'd you think of this new preview for Justice League?
I liked it better than the others, better than I expected to. I'm still very cautious about what I think this movie's going to be, but I like this trailer. I liked it better than I expected to.
Okay.
It gave me more hope than I would have thought for this movie.
Uh-huh.
But I still it's still a DC movie,
Oh.
and I'm very...
And you have yet to see a DC... Well, besides Wonder Woman, you have yet to see a DC movie that you really like. Now, of course, one thing we got to remember, too, about this is filmmaker Joss Whedon is, of course, stepping in to finish production and post-production on this film, taking over for Zack Snyder, who has stepped away from the film for family reasons and stuff like that. So Joss Whedon is kind of finishing everything up. So before we get into kind of drama, I guess, in regards to this film as well, let's just stick with the trailer itself. So just a couple things that I noticed about the trailer personally. They led with Wonder Woman. I feel like the whole first half of this trailer, I felt like one of, because you had her fighting, coming to like the bank robbery or whatever, and then also they went to Themyscira right away too. So I felt like they were putting their best foot forward on this, leading with Wonder Woman and kind of featuring her in this trailer.
Of course, that was like the smart thing to do. Wonder Woman has been their first real success. It's been the first DC film so far that has been well received. Like, it would make sense for them, if they want people to want to see this, to lead off the trailer with right now the one who has a positivity surrounding her. You don't want to leave with Ben Affleck, with Batman, because there's so much
But people like
drama.
Ben Affleck, though, too.
There's so much drama and confusion about what's going on with him in the DC universe. No one knows the other characters yet. Like, Wonder Woman is the obvious starting point. I think it was perfect.
Okay, fair enough. All right. A couple of things. Of course, we got our first look, really our first real look, of the underwater Sea of Atlantis. We saw Jason Momoa's Aquaman going through and, swimming through. So that was I'm very curious how they're going to deal with that, because obviously the Atlanteans, they live underwater, they talk underwater. I'm curious how they're going to do the talking, like that and stuff like that as well. So, but we'll see. We'll wait and see about that. Then, of course, we got our first look at the villain Steppenwolf.
No, so who was that?
Huh?
So that? The guy who just pounded down in Themyscira where all you see is really like a waist and legs?
Yeah, so Steppenwolf is a minion of Darkseid. So I think he's going to be our main villain in this one. And then maybe later on we'll see Darkseid. At least that's my train of thought is what we're getting. Yeah, he's the guy with the big hammer. He's got horns on his head. He pounds down the hammer and, the world shakes or whatever. But they're talking about also in this trailer the reason they're there, which kind of sets it up what happened in Batman v Superman was Lex Luthor was working for Steppenwolf or Darkseid, and his job was pretty much to take out Superman, to pave the way to make it easier for Darkseid and his minions to take over Earth. And in this trailer, they actually talk about there's no Kryptonians, there's no lanterns, leading to talking about the Green Lanterns, which, of course, people are speculating that means we're going to, of course, see some Green Lanterns maybe in this movie, maybe towards the end. But also it brings up the question to say there's no lanterns. There's a Green Lantern for every sector of the universe. Earth Sector 2814, which I guess in the real, DC universe is Hal Jordan, who takes over for Abin Sur. So the fact that they're saying there's no lantern, are they hinting at this is like the in-between as far as the end of Abin Sur before Hal Jordan starts? Something to think about. Something to chew on a little bit, maybe. Maybe we'll get to see Hal Jordan actually put on the ring.
I was totally chewing on that.
Okay, fair enough.
I was actually wondering about that Green Lantern line.
Okay, and then, of course, there's the whole thing with... One thing I found interesting in this trailer, too, was the whole Alfred angle, because he's mentioning and talking about how this is really the next level of fighting for him and Bruce. They've mainly been doing, street crime. He mentioned, exploding wind-up penguins, and how he doesn't really recognize this world anymore, and how it's all different from what they're used to. So he kind of gives you kind of that perspective as far as, what they're doing. And maybe he might be that point of view character in this film to where everything is kind of, out of the ordinary or very imaginative. But in any event, I liked his little perspective in the film. And then, of course, at the end there, he mentioned a little character who he hoped was not too late. Before we get to the very end of that, I did want to mention one thing I think they're also still trying to capitalize on is Aquaman. I don't know if he's coming off as just the coolest character in this movie, but to me, like in this one, he surfed a parademon through a building and then came out the other side.
He did look pretty awesome.
Is it just we as the audience thinking him that cool, or do you think Warner Brothers is trying to make him that cool?
Well, isn't that the next movie that's supposed to be coming?
That is the next movie.
Well, duh. I don't think you're giving them enough credit. Like, all these things seem very obvious.
No, they don't, actually, because honestly, Aquaman's always been cool. People just don't know it.
Right, exactly. But that's what I mean. People just don't know it. So their next film after Justice League is Aquaman. They're going to do their goddamn best to make him look cool as shit in this movie because they want people to go see it.
Yes, that's true. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I mean, like, these are all, like, marketing. What they're doing right now, all these little things is marketing. This is marketing. That's what trailers are. It's marketing.
Well, obviously
they're not supposed to necessarily even represent the movie for what it is. The whole point of trailers is to make people want to see it.
Uh-huh.
And that's what they're doing. Putting, Wonder Woman at the beginning makes people want to see it because Wonder Woman was really good. It brings you in off of a high note. Making Aquaman look awesome, it's because they want you to go see Aquaman. I think they're going to do their fair share of moments in the film, too, to make him look
Aquaman's
awesome.
A year after Justice League?
Yeah, I think they just want you to get a good taste in your mouth about him because they want you to go see it.
All right. Cool. All right. And then, of course, talking another trailer that was first that was featured is Flash, played by Ezra Miller. This character, honestly, the more I see him, the more I dislike him. Yeah. To be honest, he's not. I mean, of course, this is me nitpicking. He's not Barry Allen. Mm-hmm. He's more of a Bart Allen, where he's very young, naive, jokey, stuff like that. That little bit there where Commissioner Gordon turns around and everyone, he's like, "Oh, they're left. That was rude." And I'm like, "Come on, dude, really?" It was. I know they want to make him the comic relief, so to speak, of this film, but if it were any other super, Flash, if it was a young Wally West or even a young Bart Allen, it would make sense because they're that type of character. Barry Allen is not that type of character. I think Grant Gustin on the TV show does do a very good job of, giving a good mix of a young Barry Allen, or what a young Barry Allen should be. In the comics, he's more of a veteran now, but I think Gustin plays what he might be younger very well on the TV show. I do, however, like what they're doing with the running, the way the lighting, like when he just took off from Commissioner Gordon, and you saw like the lightning trails afterwards and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool. So, but yeah, do you like the Flash or?
I mean, I don't. Unfortunately, I think because most people are gonna be comparing him directly to the TV Flash, because I think that's what people are most familiar with right now. And compared to that, I like the TV Flash way better.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like he seems more likable. He seems more like I don't know. This Flash just seems kind of weird to me, but I don't know. Maybe we'll just have to give him a chance and see.
Okay, cool. All right, so jumping to the very end there, you have Alfred sitting there, and someone kind of shakes his cup. Yeah, I don't think it was a T-Rex, but someone appears before him, and there's like...
It was kind of an odd move, though, because everyone immediately thought T-Rex. I mean, come on.
I don't think everyone thought T-Rex,
yeah,
but...
they did. Anyone who's seen Jurassic Park, when the water did the thing, everyone's like, T-Rex.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we really thought it was a T-Rex there. I'm just saying, it's the first thing your mind flashes to.
So someone appears, and he's like, I was told you might be coming. I hope you're not too late. Everyone, of course, expects the obvious, that it is Superman back from the dead, especially since, Henry Cavill was there at Comic-Con, and he's featured in all the promo stuff to be in the movie. Do you think there is any chance that is not Superman?
No, I think it's definitely Superman.
Definitely Superman?
Who else could it be?
Yeah. And, of course, like I said, there's that picture.
And he's obviously in the movie.
Yeah.
Like... Duh, we've had all these talks lately about his stupid freaking mustache. He's definitely
We're gonna get
in
to
the
that.
movie.
We're going to get to that, yes, of course. So, jumping off the trailer, we're going to go straight into the rumors, okay? Let's start off with a mustache, actually. So, it was reported a couple days ago, actually, that Henry Cavill is moved on and is working on the next Mission Impossible movie with Tom Cruise, but they're running a little late as far as post-production and reshoots for the film. And he's contractually obligated under Mission Impossible to keep that mustache. So what they're going to have to do is continue reshooting Justice League and digitally take out the mustache.
This is the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Okay, go ahead and do it. I'm going to look up and see exactly what Henry Cavill said about it.
This is my opinion on this. Okay, Mission Impossible, whatever. You can add a fake mustache, or like literally it might take him, 2 weeks to grow it back? Let him do the freaking reshoots without his mustache, put a fake one on him for a little while, or just give him 2 weeks to grow the goddamn thing back, as opposed to making DC spend an insane amount of money digitally removing it. That's crazy to me. Like, how in the world DC doesn't have enough clout to go to Mission Impossible and be like, dude, come on, guys, this is ridiculous. The amount of money that we're going to waste because you guys are stubborn is insane.
Yeah, like here, Henry Cavill, a couple days ago on his Twitter, he posted this little thing, and it's basically showing this big old rig about what they're going to have to do to try to take off the mustache.
So ridiculous.
So, yeah, Henry Cavill said, a picture above is not a set on Mission Impossible 6, but is in fact the latest in a series of weapons being designed by Warner Brothers and Paramount Studios to combat the entity known as Henry Cavill's mustache.
It's so ridiculous. I just can't understand. Like, my first thought about this was, if this was Henry Cavill in a Marvel film, Marvel would be like, fuck you guys. He's shaving that goddamn mustache.
Oh, yeah.
He can grow it back when he's done.
But I love the little pictures now. We get all these Superman pictures with a mustache. It's hilarious. It's pretty funny on that. So, but yeah, so there's one little thing that's been swirling around the Justice League movie, a movie that has really been a ball of drama, which really can describe a lot of movies in the DC cinematic universe. And the other thing that came out was a couple days before Comic-Con, there was a story released by the Hollywood Reporter, which I think we can all agree is a reputable source, that Ben Affleck will not be back to play Batman after Justice League. Now, this was something that's swirling around for a while, mainly because of, when he jumped onto Batman, everyone assumed, okay, Ben Affleck is going to direct a Batman movie. We heard he was writing a Batman movie. He said on Jimmy Kimmel months ago he was going to direct, but then like a week later they announced he wasn't going to direct. Then they announced that the script that he'd been writing for a while was not going to be used. So all these things, like basically it feels like they kicked him out of everything. They threw out his script. They did not let him direct. And then Ben Affleck appears at Comic-Con saying that I am still Batman. Now, he didn't say, yes, I am playing Batman in a new Batman solo film, but the words he was saying, of course, assume that. But Ben Affleck has lied before. Like I said on Jimmy Kimmel, he said, "Yes, I'm gonna be directing," and then later says that, "No, I'm not directing." So, I guess the question is Mr. Affleck lying to us again?
Well, he's been lying to us for a long time.
For a while, yeah.
Wasn't there a thing a while back where it's like he was on some late night show literally saying, "I am doing this"? And
that's what I just talked about.
The very next day, it's like, no. So
yeah, that's what I just talked about. So
yeah,
I think it's one of those things where Warner Brothers and Ben Affleck, they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't, because they don't want people to know that he's not going to play till after Justice League. I imagine if it is true where he's not going to be Batman, you're not going to hear about it till about a month after Justice League when, it's gone through its run and it's made its money, because they know if they announce that Ben Affleck will not be returning as Batman, that, there's still problems within the DCEU film community. It's going to hurt Justice League numbers. Mm-hmm. So even if there is a problem, they couldn't say anything about it.
Yeah, but the thing is, the people who care enough about all this are people like us who already know all this drama and shit. I mean, it's not going to detract the general public from seeing this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think this is really all just a game for us.
It is. It is.
To give us things to talk about.
Speculation.
Right. My favorite thing.
All right. So that's kind of the drama thread of the movie. So now let's go into kind of the big thing, which is movies in the DCU besides Justice League.
Wait, what?
Yes, that's right. So as of before Comic-Con, the only definitive film we had after Justice League is Aquaman, which comes out a year later. And there have been rumors swirling about other movies happening and stuff like that, but nothing was definitive. So DC Films CEO Chairman Jeff Johns announced several films. First, he announced that Wonder Woman 2 is definitely a go. And then a couple days later, they announced that it is going to be set for, I think they said 2019 in December. Okay. They also said they are indeed working on a Batgirl film directed by Joss Whedon, which we've heard about for a while as well. And then they also said, yes, they're working on a Batman solo film and David Ayer's Gotham City Sirens, we've heard about as well. Other films they said they were in production or ideas coming around: Shazam, Suicide Squad 2, Justice League Dark, Green Lantern Corps, and kind of the one that got me the most excited, or the thing I really want to talk about, is the Flash movie, where they said it's going to basically be Flashpoint. They didn't say, it's the Flash movie with that. They literally put up the logo Flashpoint. Is what they did.
That's what that animated one is.
That's what that animated one was. So they actually did the beginning, this whole season, the last season of Flash season 3 of the TV show, has been a parody of Flashpoint. So for those of you who aren't familiar with it.
A parody?
Well, okay.
Are you sure that's the right word?
A version.
Okay, not a parody.
Anyway, parody, because honestly they fucked it up, so it's a parody in my eyes. But anyway, what happens is Barry Allen goes back in time to save his mother from being killed, the kind of the one traumatic moment in his life, and in doing so, he messes up the entire DC universe to where Superman does not land in a field in Kansas. He lands right in the middle of Metropolis and spends his whole life being experimented on like a lab rat. Cyborg is the world's greatest superhero. Batman, Bruce Wayne, his parents do not die in the alley. In fact, Bruce is the one who actually dies in the alley, and his parents his dad ends up becoming the Batman, and his mother, Martha, ends up becoming the Joker in that scenario. And then, of course, you have Aquaman and Wonder Woman, the Atlanteans and the Amazons actually fighting for power in the world, where they're basically destroying the world and everyone's trying to stop them from fighting before it all goes awry.
Sounds kind of cool.
It does. And I was really excited. I mean, based off the, based off the book by Jeff Johns, if you want to read the book, watch the animated movie. It's definitely great. In the TV show, they spent like half an episode in this Flashpoint world, but the other thing too was the fact that they didn't explore the other parts. Like, they just explored Barry's friends in that world and what happened to them. You don't know, even in the CW, you don't know what happened to, what Oliver Queen was in that world, or who the Black Canary was, or Supergirl. You don't know how it affected the other heroes. In the book and the animated series, you see Cyborg, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and it's funny too because all those guys are the ones that we're being introduced to in the Justice League. So it makes sense that they can really do this a true adaptation because all the main characters they need from the book they have in the Justice League movie. So with that respect, I think they could really do a good job of it and really make it really entertaining. The question becomes, Flashpoint was a way in the DC comics to help reboot the universe. Like when he tried to set everything correctly again, just like in the TV show, he set pretty much everything the way it was with a few minor details. So Batman and Green Lantern pretty much were the two big ones that went unscathed, mainly because they were DC Comics' most popular big best-selling titles, so they didn't want to mess with too much. Whereas, say, Wonder Woman and Superman, they got total revamps in their origin and, character dissecting and, rearranging and stuff like that to where it's almost completely new. So, is this Warner Brothers and DC's ways of fixing all the problems or criticisms people have had in the DCEU?
It's certainly a way to explain why Batman looks different.
Exactly. They could have a totally different Batman if they do this. One thing, of course, that I thought was exciting too, because in Batman v Superman, the little flashback you get at the end of his parents dying, you have Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who is a well-known actor, playing his dad. And immediately when they said Flashpoint, everyone got excited about Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the Batman in a Flashpoint movie.
I would watch that.
That would totally be awesome. Plus, the actress as well, she's in The Walking Dead. She's been in Supernatural. She's in the geek community, a known actress as well. And then dressing her up like the Joker, that would be awesome. I mean, one of the more interesting, side stories in the Flashpoint universe was the battle between Batman and Joker, husband and wife, both dealing with their death of their son in different ways. And that would be an interesting movie just unto itself that I would just love to see. Again, I'm very curious if they're going to take this as a way to set things right. But it's so early too, Yeah. I mean, granted, we don't know when this Flashpoint movie is going to come out, but I'm looking forward to it if they do it correctly. I think it could really be something.
I think that you just hit on the key point right there, though. If they
do it correctly. Well,
I mean, I just feel like, as I've said before, I go into all of these DC things with a little bit of skepticism because thus far they have let me down just about every time. So I think you are putting your cart ahead of the horse a little bit with all that.
I'm looking at best case scenario.
Okay, well, as long as you retain that
I know, exactly. Best case scenario. It's like when I went into Batman v Superman. I hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And
something in the middle.
I got the worst.
You got something in the middle.
I got the worst in the theaters, but then I got the best on Blu-ray.
You got something in the middle.
See, so it's really in the middle. Between the two of them, I'm in the middle on that. So, all right. So let's talk about the other movies they announced: Green Lantern Corps, Justice League Dark, Suicide Squad 2, Shazam, Batgirl. Obviously, Wonder Woman 2. We're both excited for that.
I'm excited for that one.
Do you think it's weird that they changed it to Christmas as opposed to summer?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think summer movies generally do better, don't they?
Well, but at the same time, again, Star Wars has changed the game. Yeah. Star Wars,
Yeah, but Star Wars is something that can get people to the theaters around the Christmas. I don't think most other... I mean, I know you have always been the kind of person to go to movie Christmas time.
I go to movies all the time.
I know. That's what I mean. People, like the general public, Christmas time is not a huge... Christmas time is for, being with your family.
But, again, like you said, what we've talked about before, it's changing, though, because, there are so many movies coming out. You have summer movies coming out in March, April. There's no, set blockbuster season. Mm-hmm. And I think Star Wars has really shown people that you can put movies, that you would normally put in summer and put them during the holiday time, because I've heard a lot of people that, if you have time off from school or work or whatever, what can you do with a family? Go see a movie. And I think that's, part of the reason why Star Wars The Force Awakens was such a success too, because of course obviously it was a big event, but people took their whole families to go see this movie multiple times even. So taking their best property or their most successful property to date, Wonder Woman, excuse me, and then putting that during a prime spot, I think is a pretty smart idea. I'm not saying, summer, I think it would have done just as well, but taking it at a time where people will go see movies with families, and given the fact that Wonder Woman, I feel, is a family movie, unlike Batman v Superman or Suicide Squad, I think it's a prime real estate. If they didn't do it in summer, I think it's a prime real estate, but it also begs to differ the fact that this is December 2019. The only other movie we got a release date for was Aquaman, which is December 2018. Do you think we're going to see another movie come out in between then? Because that's only one movie.
Not very much.
That's one movie a year, and they just announced, 5 other movies, 6 other movies?
I guess, but none of these other movies seem very intriguing
Okay,
to me.
so let's go, out of the ones. So we got Batgirl, Shazam, Suicide Squad 2, Justice League Dark, and Green Lantern, and the Well, they didn't officially announce the Batman. They said they're working on it. So we're going to put that aside for a minute. Of these other 5 movies, which ones might you be most excited for?
Well, it depends. Shazam is the one that is allegedly going to have The Rock, right?
Yes, that's The Rock that he's been talking about for 5 million years.
Right. So if that one does have The Rock, then I would be intrigued because I like The Rock. I think for somebody who started where he started in show business, I've really been impressed
his
with
career
him.
His career is great.
And he seems like a super nice guy in real life too.
Follow him on Twitter or Instagram. He's awesome.
Yeah, so I would, because that one, if it has The Rock, then that one would be on my radar. Suicide Squad 2, I don't care about at all. Justice League Dark, I don't care about at all.
So let's back up. I'm gonna throw some stuff in here, okay? Suicide Squad 2. I didn't like Suicide Squad 1.
Yeah.
And nobody's quite sure why they're doing a Suicide Squad 2, given the fact I did make money. Right. I get it, but there was, again, kind of like the criticism of it was so bad, I feel like they would have learned and just moved on. They could have taken those characters and split up. Like I said, David Ayer's moved on. He's doing Gotham City Sirens, which I still think is a mistake, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Those 2 movies I'm not excited for. What I feel like they should do is take that, they want to promote Harley Quinn. I get it. People like Harley Quinn. They want to promote her. What you need to do is you need to start off with this Joss Whedon Batgirl movie, which I think will be great because it's Joss Whedon, and he can do great things with female characters, and spin it off into a Birds of Prey where you include Huntress and Black Canary, and they fight. You have the female heroes of this world fighting female villains such as Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, people of that sort.
That sounds good.
That's the direction I feel like they should go because, again, they're trying to highlight the villains, which, guess what? They weren't the villains. Suicide Squad, DC and Warner Brothers can rave about how, these are about the bad guys. No, they weren't. Each one of those characters, they made you feel empathetic towards them to where they were more tragic characters than just plain villains. So that's stupid. Okay, Justice League Dark. I've been talking for a while now about how I feel like Warner Brothers and DC have prepped people. You can see what they're coming up with in live action by looking at their animated stuff. Okay, like Flashpoint, Justice League, all the stuff they did several years ago or in the last few years, animated wise, is what they're prepping for live wise. And a couple months ago, they came out with a Justice League Dark animated movie, and they were talking about a live action. So I feel like I knew this announcement was coming because I saw the animated stuff. I feel like they're prepping for it. But honestly, what I know, I don't read a lot of the Justice League Dark, but I know Constantine, I know Zatanna, Deadman, Swamp Thing. These are interesting characters, and I think you could tell a completely different story compared to, say, a superhero Justice League story with Justice League Dark. I think it'd be cool, in my opinion. So I know you're not that excited about it. I am. So, all right. So then moving on. Green Lantern Corps.
I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like the Green Lantern, there's a lot of potential to make more Green Lantern films. The last one, which wasn't the same studio, whatever, it wasn't very good. I just feel like our experience with Green Lantern so far has been kind of a dud. And DC so far hasn't wowed us very much.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is already 2 strikes. and this might not be the best place to go until they start having a little more success.
So
not success, because that implies financial. Like not so until they start making some really high quality.
It's like Wonder Woman was, I think, their first success where it was both loved by critics and audiences members and made a decent amount of money. Those are kind of the 3 points you have to hit to make really a successful movie. And Wonder Woman was the first DCEU film that I felt like hit all those marks with that. So in that respect, yes, Wonder Woman I think is their first successful film. Just sticking with Green Lantern. So the main thing people are thinking about is, of course, the Ryan Reynolds 2010 film. The stigma is they feel like is still around of that movie. Because originally, that movie was supposed to kick off their expanded universe.
Yeah.
That's what it was really supposed to, but it was so poorly received, they scrapped it, and then a couple years later came out with Man of Steel, which I think, of course, split audiences. And the fact that it wasn't universally hated, it was good enough starting point for them to launch into their expanded universe. Green Lantern Corps, the world, especially the world that Jeff Johns has created, is so rich and so wonderful, and I want them to do so well. And I've talked about this too, where much like the X-Men with Marvel, they have like their own corner of the Marvel universe. Okay, so really, the fact that Fox has all the X-Men properties and they're not connected to the Avengers and the Warner Brothers or the Marvel Studios stuff, I'm fine with, because there's enough characters and enough stories in there to play with. You don't have to connect them to the other characters like Iron Man and Thor to make it work. Same thing with Green Lantern Corps. I feel like there's the way Jeff Johns expanded the universe, there are so many characters, so many corpses out there. You don't have to include, all the Superman, the Batman, stuff like that. Sure, they're nice, but there's so many characters and interesting people in those universes themselves. You don't have to rely on the Justice League to make Green Lantern work. And in that respect, it's, again, I'm thinking best case scenario here, where there's so much you can do with it. It makes me really hopeful, especially the fact that now co-chairman Jeff Johns, who, has made so many wonderful stories, not only in the Green Lantern, but also in DC Comics. I hope that they're listening to him from a storyteller's perspective and a character perspective of how to tell a good story, because that's what it is. That's what I feel like they've been lacking in these DCEU films, is telling a good story, getting good characters that we care about, and it really roots from that. You can have all the visual effects and the fights and stuff like that. If you don't have the character and the story, you got to start with that. And I think if you tell a good story, if you have good characters, all else is forgiven in regards to the previous Green Lantern movie.
I hope so.
Cool. Good?
Yeah, I don't really have anything else.
Okay, nothing else to say about that. And of course, they talked about how it's going to be a buddy movie. They want to bring in Jon Stewart, who is the second most known Green Lantern. I'd rather see bless you. I'd rather see Kyle Rayner, but that's my own personal thoughts as far as where I think they should go with this. But I can get into that at another time because we're running late. So good discussion. Good stuff coming on. So that is it, guys. We pretty much wrapped up the main points of Comic-Con. There are a few minor things that I'll talk about probably throughout the week. I'm hoping to get either Aaron or Josh in here to talk about the CW trailers and maybe also the animated stuff that DC is doing, because I know Lisa doesn't watch that stuff. So I want to talk about the Death of Superman animated stuff that DC has announced as well. But I know Lisa, I think Josh would be better equipped to help with that discussion, given the fact.
You don't have to justify this. It's fine.
Didn't I try to get you to read that too? It's like, was that your in your stack? The Death of Superman, like the stack I gave you of comics to read.
I remember I read a bunch of X-Men.
You read Joss Whedon's X-Men. I know that, but I'm pretty sure I would have given you the Death of Superman kind of saga. But I don't think you did. If you don't remember it, then you didn't read it.
I don't really remember the one I did read very well. So. I don't like comics.
Harsh. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna be it. Let us know what you think. What do you think of DC's new plan? We know their other plan kind of went to crap. What do you think of the new plan? Are you as hopeful about Flashpoint as I am, or do you think Batgirl should be out before Sirens and Suicide Squad and all that? What movie are you most looking forward to? And of course, what do you think of Justice League? Are you just as excited as you were let us know, guys. DayspringDiscussions@gmail.com. Also hit us up on the Facebook group or on Twitter. You can find me personally, Slim Dayspring12 on Twitter and Instagram. Lisa, anything else you want to say about DC before we take off?
Joss Whedon better not kill anybody I like.
Well, again, he's doing post-production, so I don't. Allegedly, the story. Well, we know post-production is taking a little. Post-production's running a little long, but I think somebody's going to have to die. Honestly, it's just to make a story this epic.
I'm not super attached to anybody in the DC.
Well, hey, maybe they'll kill Batman, and boom, we'll solve that Ben Affleck crisis there. Okay, all right, guys, that is going to be it for us. Until next time, may the Force be with us all.